Instead of selling it out to someone else, do the reverse, start buying up these other smaller companies and becoming one of these larger aggregate companies that they would be potentially selling to. They would have to adapt a new model of growth. This is a completely different idea from what they're thinking. So they would use their available capital in the business. They're currently in a growth period, so they have those sort of assets available. This provides family affinity in the future. They're able to continue working in the business together. However, they would have to deal with the problems that are there personally. And also, there's very big challenges for the next generation. How are they going to go from being a company that's managing $220 million in assets or sales a year to something that's, $1 billion or even higher numbers? So the decision that we went with is going from a family business to a family office, which is option number 2. So the first thing that they would have to do is they would take that decision-making board, pare it down a little, get rid of the CFO because he's attached to the past company. The purpose of this family office council would be helping them make the investment decisions, solidifying the values and purpose, and which gives the family direction. Here's what we care about, this is where we're going. It creates accountability because there are outsides on the board, and so the family has to sort of answer to other people. And also it builds opportunities for next generation members to get involved in the family and in the businesses. How we realize the 3 pathways through this plan is they nurture the family by doing this. Instead of just for, say, getting rid of the business, they're putting it all together, so they have to keep together. They can then build their family's value statements, which is how they're going to direct where they invest. It gives them a purpose. They're saying, okay, so now we're not just a family who owns a business, we're not just a family who has a bunch of money, we're doing something. We have a purpose based on our values for us to go forward on. And it's also a safe space for them to deal with the conflict that was arising previously with multiple generations in the business. How it stewards the family enterprise, they need to solidify this new board structure, create rules, create purpose. It also creates a new opportunity for wealth, which is one of their biggest values, is we're going to now be investing in companies that will have a high return, which is something that they obviously care about. It allows the people that are already involved in the business, such as James's children, to continue to be involved, but also offering new jobs and roles. It would be also a place for them to develop a fair dividend distribution so that in the future, if people want to get in or out, they are allowed to, but it'll be after a probationary period because currently we want everyone to have their money in this big pot so that they can have the highest and best use of that money. And finally, cultivating human capital. G2 and G3 can learn how to serve on a board, and it would be rotating. Promotes financial literacy. If they're going to be involved in investments and these sort of financial decisions, they need to all be on page. However, it does support education and career outside of the family business. Previously, whereas the initial option might have been, okay, let's do this, we have a business, I don't need to go to college, or I'm just going to study business and jump right in. Instead it says, okay, why don't you find something that you're interested in? Let's get involved outside of our business. It also gives opportunity for education and growth with the family wealth. So say future generations, they want to do something outside of manufacturing, outside of distribution, they now have a pool of wealth that says, okay, let us foster that. Let us give you whatever opportunities we can to help you. So this is a timeline. Madison already sort of looked at it. The first would be in that 90 days, build the decision-making board. The next 30, evaluating the business worth, assessing the human capital, which puts them at the D-Day, the decision point, which is when we said, okay, we're going with plan B, we want to build this family office. So they sell their business, liquidate the wealth, and they repurpose the board. Then with another 180 days, because we want 6 months for the board to really give themselves purpose, figure out where they're going, they would have their outside advisor, who was on the original board, and help them write the concrete value statement for where they want to invest. What are we looking at? What do we care about? So we care about having money. Obviously, that's good. But what do we care about as a family? We're part of the community. We want to invest things that are important to us while also having a high financial return. They would also write the rules for how and when to do their family meetings, which is something that they had previously was not being very useful. So they now need to repurpose these meetings. Instead of saying, okay, let's spend a couple grand hanging out, it's let's do something good with this time that's valuable to keep us together. And then finally, from 400 days to infinity, in theory, they'll make investments that are purpose-driven. They will have their annual family meetings that are guided. It nurtures the family, it nurtures it stewards the family enterprise, and it develops human capital. And everyone's happy, the end. Oh wait, just kidding, there's an issue statement. So how can the Fiorentino family and FBD company find the best course of action for sale of their businesses that continues to promote growth and success while sustaining the family value of financial security? So it sustains that because they're making money, but they're also expanding what those values mean to them. What do they mean as people and as a family? And success, that definition changes from pure cash basis to we're doing something that's worthwhile in the community and worthwhile to our family.
Now we'd like to field any questions that you all might have for us.
Great. Back to the timeline. Why the sale within 120 days?
Because,
Argus is not leaving this offer on the table indefinitely.
Okay.
This isn't something they're going to sit around with for a year and wait for this decision to be made. They don't want to tie up capital on that and commit to having that as an open option. So this is the time frame that sort of was implied. We took some liberty and decided that around 120 days is what it sounded like the language in the case was saying. So that's just a quantitative estimation of how long the offer would be on the table.
Okay.
And also where the market is currently, they do see that there's, again, this train wreck that's foreseeably in front of them. And so they're trying to get there before that happens.
Okay.
Because they do have 3 options, and they need to just make a choice of those 3 options. We do have another 6 months following that to implement that.
Okay. And then to build this decision-making board in that time frame, how will you go about doing that?
Well, already it's 6 out of 7 people are in place, pretty much. I mean, you just have to have someone from the G3 who's involved, G3 who's not involved, step up. You have people who are already inclined towards it.
Is this a functional board currently?
No.
Currently, all of the decisions in the board is made by those 3 G2 members. That is the current board, is the 3 siblings of Generation 2.
Okay, so how will you account for that power and equity?
Can you rephrase that question?
How will you build this board so that you're not dependent upon those 3 G2 members?
Well, it's a 7-member board, so you would have.
But by default, you've got 3 members making all decisions.
I disagree.
Okay.
Pull the board slide up that shows me the contract, because I have a question about it anyway, so we might as well go there.
Okay.
There you go, thank you.
Okay, so yes, you do have these G2 members, but you also have 3 other people who can sort of help balance that out. And again, this is, at least initially, just the decision making. This is a room for them to discuss it, for them to get the whole family on page. And that's actually something we missed in our discussion, is that before they do any of this, they're not just going to make the decision and not consult the rest of the family. They definitely are going to be having this conversation with everyone else, no matter what.
That was the purpose of having a person from each generation, so no one would feel left out and they would all be able to discuss the ultimate decision.
Do you not think that the 300 employees feel left out? And do you not think that the vice president feels left out? Because the CFO is currently on the board, but the VP is not. They were both brought in at the same time to compensate for the demise of the prior CFO. Therefore, they are, in my opinion, equal employees that were brought in at equal capacity. They both should be on. And like I said, I feel like you're forgetting the whole 300 employees, no? You're relying on these people to share that interest and represent that interest?
I think that the way that we are thinking about it is as stakeholders in the family, which is important in this decision, and that yes, while the employees are important, at the end of the day, it's sort of the family who we are primarily concerned with. The VP of HR is involved, not necessarily on the board, but as part of the process externally.
Why not on the board?
Because I sort of feel like too many cooks spoil the soup. Once you start getting 8 people, 9 people, 10 people, it becomes sort of crazy. Even at 7, I was feeling a little bit like there were too many people.
Why not just 3 then? Why not liquidate Generation 3's interest by buying them out and giving all the equity to Generation 2, which has the closest affinity to the values that were established by Generation 1, and allowing them to make decisions about a company that really came from that base?
Well, for one, G2 doesn't have any actually wealth stock. All they have is voting stock.
They'll
So there's-
have stock if they sell the company. They'll have financial gain that they could pay out, won't they?
no.
In theory, in selling the business, all of that equity